Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're well, I hope you've had a great weekend. And today is the 31st of October, which means it's Halloween. So just to let you know, I've had COVID for about 3 weeks. I'm in the stage of kind of recovering from it. I'm ready to get back to work. I'm all clear, but I still have a little bit of a chest stuff going on and a few coughs here and there. So I haven't been able to upload any extra investigations recently. Anyway, I just wanted to thank those of you who have subscribed over the last few weeks. I do appreciate that. And yeah, I am looking to build this channel, I think now. I'm starting to feel a bit more comfortable with it. And yeah, just really enjoying making these little videos. So sadly, I don't have an investigation to upload today, but I do have a little story from many years ago. And just wanted to kind of recount that to you, really. So I'm going back to the summer of 1983, and this is, as far as I know, this is a true story. And it involved my brother and a group of friends, and what happened was they used to go up to a playing field in the summer of 1983, and they used to have a bit of a kickabout with a football. So in order to get to these playing fields, they used to have to climb over a big fence, go up a steep drive, and they used to just have a general kick around. They were quite respectful. They didn't, do any damage or cause any mischief. They were just there to have a little bit of exercise and kick around. Now my brother and all his friends, they kind of went to the same school, so they knew each other from when they were kids. So a little while into this, another group decided they were going to join them. And this other group were quite a close-knit group of friends who also, I believe, went to the same school. And they used to get on really well, and they used to have a little game of football, and it made it a little bit more interesting. But they were a nice bunch of kids, and they were quite fun to be around. Now, everybody involved would have been about 18 or 19 years old at this time. So they were kind of like young adults, just having a bit of banter, getting a bit of exercise, and they all got on really well. Even though they weren't necessarily a group of friends who were all together. As I said, they all went to different schools. So also the other element in this was that this group of friends would also turn up in the same place as my brother and his friends would drink. So my brother would go to the town centre, to a specific pub. I think it was called The Cup, and they would have a drink. This other group would come in and have a bit of banter, a bit of friendly banter, and then they'd go their separate ways. And this was a regular occurrence as much as the meeting up and having a game of football. It was never organised that they'd meet at the pub, but it was just one of these happy coincidences, and it added a bit of extra fun to the evening to have a group of lads where there was no friction, there was no arguing, and they all kind of got on together, had a bit of banter, go their separate ways, and a perfect night out for my brother and his friends. So the football started in 1983, and it went on through the summer. Then, of course, autumn came, and there was a little bit less of it. And then there was a bit of a gap until 1984. And again, the other group started coming down the field, started meeting up. And they were seeing them anyway quite regularly in these pubs and stuff. So it wasn't like they didn't know where they'd gone. Just that the weather gets a little bit rough, and you don't really want to be running around a field, getting covered in mud and stuff if you don't need to. If it's just a little bit of a kick around, nothing serious. So this group of friends started turning up. Now, this group of friends were really interesting. There was two that stood out as far as I was made aware. One was called Chris, who was a short guy, and he basically gelled the group together. He was their little kind of fun ringleader. And then there was another friend who was really tall, and his name was Steve, and he had just as much banter about him. They seemed like a really close-knit bunch of friends, but those two particularly stood out as being real fun, real mirth makers, if you like. So this went on for a few weeks. Then, without warning, the other group stopped coming to the football. And also additionally, my brother stopped seeing them at the pub. So there's, certain assumptions were made that maybe they were now at, properly 19, 20 years old. So they're probably making their way in the world, work, girlfriends, things like that. Kind of, sometimes they split up groups, the dynamics of the groups change, and, people move on, and they maybe don't frequent the same places because they're out with their other halves. And so naturally there's a lot of assumptions made, but eventually my brother and his friends accepted that, maybe we won't see him again at the football field, but maybe we might catch up with him at some point at the town centre when we go for a drink. So yeah, maybe a month or two passed, and it was Friday night. My brother was due to meet some of his friends, so he got to the town centre early to this pub, which was called The Cup, and he bought himself a pint, and not wanting to kind of be a barfly, he moved away from the bar a few metres so that he could firstly keep an eye on the bar, so when his friends came in, he knew exactly where they'd be. As this pub it wasn't small, but it became very, very crowded. It was like the initial stopping off point for a lot of people who were out there on a night out, as there were other bars and a couple of clubs as well in the near vicinity to this. So he bought his pint, he made his way away from the bar and stood in waiting his friends. At that point, all of a sudden, the group that he hadn't seen for a few months, they came into the bar, and they were at the bar, and they, as far as my brother could tell, they hadn't really changed. They were still having a lot of laughs. The small guy, Chris, he was there, gelling them all together. There's a lot of banter going on, and it was a real fun atmosphere. Steve was stood right at the back of them, and he was still quite a lot taller than them, and I'm guessing that maybe he was able to get to the bar over them, perhaps. But yeah, he was stood at the back of them, and my brother was stood watching, obviously, waiting for his friends to come in. But he didn't really want to go over and approach them because he didn't really know, maybe how their dynamics were. And he was a little bit unsure about how the reasons why they stopped coming to play football, reasons why they hadn't seen down a pub. And you get a little bit maybe paranoid that it could be because of something you've said or something you've done while you've been playing football, not realising it may have offended one of them. And when you're having banter, it's not always easy to tell if banter is an offending a particular person or not. So he kept his distance, he stayed at the back and stepped away from the bar and just watched. They were at the bar for a few minutes when all of a sudden Steve, the tall chap, he turns around and he looks straight at my brother, and my brother pulls his glass up to say, hi, how you doing, with a smile on his face. And Steve just looked at him and he nodded in recognition that he knew him, and he didn't seem overly happy, but he didn't seem sad. He was just nodded. How are you? As if to say, how you doing? Are you okay? Gave him the nod, and then he turned back. So at that point, a lot more people came into the bar, and the bar filled up a little bit. And then, without warning, my brother's two friends suddenly appeared right next to him, and through the melee of people. And my brother said hi. They both had drinks, and he said, "Hey, have you seen the Chris and Steve and all of those guys? They've come in. I haven't seen them for ages." And he said, "Oh yeah, we sort of saw them from a distance." So he said, "Come on, we'll go over and say hello to them." So my brother and his two friends, they went over to this group, and there they were. And Chris turned round. They were pleased to see me. My brother said, "Hi, how are you? What's been, how you doing and everything." And before the group had a chance to answer, before Chris, the ringleader, had a chance to answer, my brother said, where's Steve gone? And at that point, the happy to see you face kind of dropped from Chris, and he looked at my brother for a couple of moments. And my brother said, "Yeah, where's Chris gone? I saw him here a few minutes ago." At that point, Chris said, "Are you having a laugh? Are you taking the actual piss?" And my brother said, "No. You know what? I'm don't want to offend you, but what are you talking about?" Chris said, "Well, I thought you might have known." My brother said, "What? Known what?" He said, "You're not having a laugh, are you?" I said, "Bro, no. Honestly, just tell me what's going on." He said, "Steve died as about a month ago. I thought you might have known." And my brother was like, "I've just seen him. I've just seen him at the bar." And Chris, obviously, he's ashen coloured, because quite frankly, my brother, this guy, was either taking a piss or he was just imagining something that was impossible. Again, he said, Steve died a month or so ago, and it was an accident, and he's dead, he's gone. So I'll leave it to you to kind of decide what my brother was seeing. And my brother did say to Chris, he said, when Steve turned, he says, Steve turned around and he looked at me and he nodded. So as an afterthought, my brother did think how strange it was that Steve turned round and quite sort of straight face just nodded to him, not happy, not sad, and then just turned back. It was almost like he wasn't part of a group, but he was with them. And he said that to Chris, and Chris was mortified because I guess, they were a tight group of friends, and it must have really knocked them about to know that one of their own had passed away at such a young age as well, for an accident or however he died. And and I think he was torn between thinking that my brother was having a laugh, a real sick joke, or that he genuinely had seen something. I'm not sure how it was resolved between them all, but basically I thought it was quite fitting to recount that story to you as we are into Halloween now. So hopefully I'll have some more proper investigations for you, but I hope that story wasn't too painful to listen through. Until next time, take care of yourselves and have a great week.